Hey guys, Jared from the Vinyl Corner, and today we are going to be looking at my bootleg vinyl collection. So, depending on who you ask, this subject is a little taboo, but bootlegs are a cool little oddity of record collecting for me. Um, Especially when there's like albums that haven't been pressed on vinyl or probably won't be, or there's no intention to, then I think it's honestly okay to buy bootleg records, especially if they're some of your favorite albums or what have you. So, yeah, I have quite a number of bootlegs, whether they be albums that artists haven't pressed on vinyl or like live shows, stuff like that. So let's hop into it. First up, I have the Velvet Underground Praise Ye the Lord. This is just like a compilation of a bunch of live tracks from various sets, including some places in like Boston and Philadelphia, so places near me, so that's really rad. And yeah, it's really interesting. They're mainly like fan recordings, so it's not the best by any means, but it's really interesting. Comes on red vinyl, nothing on the inner labeling, so yeah, it's really cool. It's kind of like smoky black. It's hard to show off on the camera, but it's more clear than it is a solid red. So yeah, really interesting. The Velvet Underground are one of my favorite bands, so anything I can get my hands on by them, I usually pick it up. Next up, I'm not entirely sure if this one's bootleg because of the sticker. It looks a little more official, but it's probably a boot. But it's The Prominent Men. So these are demos for the first two Velvet Underground albums, so Velvet Underground and Nico, and then White Light, White Heat. But yeah, they're really interesting. It's way different, and sometimes they're not the best versions. But again, it's just a really cool like thing to see, like the progression. I love the labels on these. They're like lime green, and this record is like heavy as shit. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Again, Velvet Underground, one of my favorite bands. So just seeing how they kind of came together to create two of my all-time favorite albums is quite interesting. Next up is Tyler the Creator's Bastard. So I bought this when they were bootleg only available, but they recently on Turntable Lab did an official pressing of this, so I do need to pick that up at some point very soon. But yeah, Tyler was a huge part of my early years with music, and I'm one of the very few people I think that still stands for this album. It's very immature, it's very outdated, but I like a lot of the ideas going on here, and it was showing Tyler had something really interesting inside of him that was ready to bloom. Then we have Death Grips with Government Plates. This is one of the worst bootlegs I own. The jacket's actually too small to even like really fit the record sleeve. But yeah, the record, doesn't sound that great either. But, Death Grips fan, had to own it. I feel like this album gets underrated a lot of the time. It's definitely not one of their best releases, but a lot of people tend to shit on this one when I think it has a lot of interesting songs and ideas going for it and things that would progress into further ideas in their later catalogs. So, yeah, not the best vinyl pressing, but I wanted to have the whole collection because I love everything they've put out so far. And another Death Grips bootleg, this is Ex-Military. Yeah, I mean, there are vinyl pressings of these two albums that exist, but they literally go for like hundreds upon hundreds of dollars, and I don't have that to spend on those types of records. I mean, if I ever saw a good price on it, like I would jump at it, but I'm not trying to pay like that much for a record. And this one comes on like this cool like cloudy white marbled vinyl. But yeah, this is still in my top 3 Death Grips albums. Probably honestly my second favorite behind the Money Store still. I just love the aggression on it. I feel like it's really interesting. It still has some of my absolute favorite Death Grip songs, and there's really just not a bad track on it to me. So yeah, just amazing project. One of my favorite from my generation. Again, not quite sure if this one's technically a bootleg, but it might be. This is Dead Kennedys live at the old Waldorf. Dead Kennedys, like my favorite punk band, just one of my absolute favorite bands on the planet. And yeah, this is limited to 500 copies, but it's just, a radio broadcast of one of their shows. Records on black, so I'm not going to show you that. But yeah, this is just some really killer shit. I mean, Dead Kennedys live shows are always a good thing. Anytime I see one I don't have, I try and grab it. Next is The Cure, Fading Roots. I went through a really large Cure phase where I just like grabbed pretty much anything I could, and they're still one of my favorite bands. But yeah, this is a really weird one where it's like a mix of stuff from a live performance, some of their John Peel sessions, some of their Kid Jensen stuff, So, yeah, it's just like a really weird mix of shit, and this came out in the 80s. So, this is an like original bootleg from back then. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's very weird. It just has such weird labeling on it as well. Like, it doesn't even have like the Cure like name on it. So yeah, unless that's just like a random thing, but yeah, this is just a really bizarre bootleg in my collection. I really haven't ever seen another one in person, so this is the most I've ever spent on a record is for this bootleg of the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack. This is one of my all-time favorite albums. Cowboy Bebop's like my favorite TV show, and there was a point in my life where this was like the biggest thing to me. So yeah, I saved up for a little while and I purchased a nice bootleg, but this is actually a very quality bootleg. It sounds very nice. And yeah, again, I don't think they've ever officially pressed this one. If they ever do, I'll buy like 4 copies. So if anybody's watching this or can get a hold of someone, that needs to happen because I will give you all of the money in my wallet. But yeah, this is a really well done boot. A lot of care actually went into this one. I believe it was pressed in Japan. So obviously, you know, the Japanese tend to make more quality stuff than us. Like, you know, the Obi strip records are always like 1,000 times better than anything over here. So yeah, same thing with their bootlegs. They're much better than ours usually. So yeah, but this is just an immense album, and it's just probably my favorite piece of my collection. So I have a couple Nirvana bootlegs. This one is You Only Live Twice. This one is limited to 450 copies, and this is just like a bunch of rare live performances and stuff like that. Not the best quality. It's pressed on really nice vinyl, but just the recordings themselves aren't the most fantastic. But yeah, there was a time, again, where I just like grabbed any Nirvana bootlegs. I recently unloaded them to get some nicer stuff for my collection that I care about more. But I did keep a few, and this was one of them just because it was so limited, and like it's kind of just like a cool piece, and I love the artwork. So this is the Fecal Matter tape. This is like what Nirvana was before, as it says, the 1985 Kurt Cobain home tape. So yeah, this is just really awful, really recorded, just weird shit from Kurt. It's not very good at all. I just bought it simply because it was cool, and it's on brown vinyl, like clear, see-through, like swirly, like marbly, and the inner labelings on these are really fucking beautiful. So yeah, this is just a really interesting commodity. I don't really listen to it ever, but I just feel like it's really cool because I like the whole presentation for it and what it stands for. So yeah, really just kind of weird shit, but cool nonetheless. So this is Nirvana playing their Rome show on February 22nd, 1994. And yeah, this obviously was like one of their last shows. And it's just, you know, the whole situation behind this, like all of the stuff that happened or may not have happened during that time. It's just a really interesting thing to have. And it's also on blue vinyl over here. So yeah, it's just, again, really interesting. One of their last shows. And you know, it's a really big turning point in like the whole Courtney Love, Kurt Cobain thing that happened. So yeah, just cool to own. This one was a Christmas gift from my mother a couple years ago. This is Chance the Rapper's coloring book. When this album came out, I was like super obsessed with it. I still think it's a really solid project overall, but I'm nowhere near as enamored with it as I once was. But, you know, it came from my mom. It's a really cool piece. I got it for Christmas. So, of course, I'll never get rid of this, even if I don't like the album as much as I used to and don't play it nearly as much as I used to. But, yeah, it's on clear vinyl over here. So, very cool. But, yeah, just really fun pop rappy album, kind of soulful. Just good fun stuff. Good fun for the whole family. You know, that's the whole Chance the Rapper image is everybody likes him. So yeah, it's a good record. Also another Christmas gift, but from my younger brother. This is A$AP Rocky's Live Love A$AP. This is like one of my all-time favorite rap projects. I don't know why. It holds a lot of like nostalgic leaning for me, but even today, like when I listen to it, I just feel like cover to cover, this is like one of the stronger like rap projects I've ever heard in terms of personality. Great beats, lots of personality through flows and stuff like that. So yeah, it's an amazing mixtape. Definitely still my personal favorite Rocky project. And this one also comes on clear. A lot of these boots tend to come on clear vinyl, so yeah. But really cool. It doesn't sound much better than the MP3s, obviously, if at all. But it's just a cool piece to own because it's like an album that means a ton to me, and it still remains like one of my favorite projects. Next up is Isaiah Rashad's Sylvia demo. Really fantastic album out of the TDE camp, which involves like Schoolboy Q, J-Rock, Isaiah Rashad, Kendrick Lamar, all of them. But yeah, just really amazing. It's very kind of surreal, cerebral, just like interesting, kind of chilled out rap music. Lots of great personality driven bars on this one, very self-reflective, and this one is on like glacier clear, like it's very, very clear. I love the look of this one. And this is a more recent one in my collection. It's actually kind of the thing that inspired me to do this video. So yeah, this album is just great. There's bootlegs for his other album too, which I would like to get, but I don't like the cover on it nearly as much. But, you know, a lot of boots tend to have like alternate covers just to avoid copyright or whatever. So I'll probably get that one eventually as well. Another not so quality bootleg. This is Kanye West's Yeezus. In my top 3 favorite Kanye projects, I absolutely adore this record. But yeah, the jacket on this is like literally a piece of paper. And it's awful, and the record didn't even come in a sleeve originally, and it's on like this really ugly burnt looking clear. But yeah, just had to own this. I eventually would like to get a better bootleg of this, or hopefully Kanye smartens up and finally drops all the albums that he hasn't dropped on vinyl yet. More Kanye, Life of Pablo over here. This one's just on clear, so I'm not going to show it, but this is the original version that doesn't have St. Pablo, and it has like all of those original like weird oddities behind it. I would like to get a new copy with all of that stuff intact, but it's cool because this is like the original version. This got taken off iTunes, and it's like, you know, it's just kind of cool that I have this first version. I got to it this early, but I would like to get one with like St. Pablo, the new mixes, all the different changes Kanye did to it over the year after it dropped. So yeah. Then we got Graduation, Kanye's pop rap album. Not one of my necessarily favorite projects, but I still think it's a very solid album overall. It definitely has some of his best and worst tracks on it. But yeah, again, Kanye is like my favorite artist of all time, so I kind of had to have everything by him on vinyl. And this one comes on an absolutely beautiful see-through cotton candy pink with like swirls in it. But yeah, like I said, really good album. It did a lot for rap music. It pushed it a lot further into the mainstream. It kind of killed off the whole like bling rap era, and then 808s kind of cemented that death of that era. So yeah, this is just a really fantastic, important, and just very fun hip-hop album. And the last Kanye bootleg, this is his 2001 demo tape. This is really interesting just because obviously some of these songs went on to be things on like the College Dropout or even Late Registration, and it's just very, very interesting because like I was listening to it and I heard like certain lyrics I remembered, but the beat is so different, or the way he's going about it is so different, or it's literally just on par with what it is on the final release, but it's just on like something slightly different about it. It's just very unique, very interesting. And again, this one's on clear vinyl, so I'm not going to show you, but yeah, this is just for the Kanye collector in me. I had to have this one when I saw it. My only Hendrix bootleg I have, this one's called Welcome Home. The only thing I know about this, because I actually haven't listened to this one yet, is that it was printed in Germany, and I think it's something for veterans, but I have no idea. It just came into the place that I worked in. I love the cover of it, and it just seems so interesting, and usually German pressings are fantastic. So yeah, I have a ton of Hendrix vinyl, so this was just a really cool piece to have, and I eventually will get to it. So all of these next ones are going to be Frank Ocean, so I'm going to rifle through them quite quickly. First we have Unreleased Miscellaneous Volume 2, followed by Unreleased Miscellaneous Volume 1. Then we have Nostalgia Ultra, which is probably the worst bootleg I own. I wasted my fucking money on that, and I'm pissed, but it's okay. Followed by one of the best bootlegs I own. This is Frank Ocean Endless. This is a fantastic one. All of these come on clear vinyl, except for one I'm going to show soon. Channel Orange, really fucking amazing album. One of my favorites from this generation. Obviously, I love Frank Ocean, so Channel Live, this is like the live version with like a bunch of random shit. It's really interesting, very fun. And then the magnum opus of the catalog, we have Blonde. This one is a little different. It's like one's yellow see-through and one's like a peach colored vinyl. But yeah, Frank is like one of my favorite artists of all time. I know a lot of people like to try and discredit him because he has such a large fan base and cult of personality, but I think he's genuinely very talented. I love most of his work so far, and I just feel like, especially lately, he hasn't been able to do wrong. Then we have Earl Sweatshirt's Earl mixtape. I am not a fan of this cover at all. I think it's really ugly and terrible. But yeah, it's the only way you can own it on vinyl as of right now. And I'm a really big fan of Earl, and I think this project is fantastic. So I wanted to own it, but yeah, it's his first project. It's kind of amateurish. It's a little hokey, but it's a lot of fun. The bars are definitely there, and you can definitely see that Earl was blooming into a god-tier rapper very soon. I have some Smith's bootlegs, and they're all on black vinyl, so I'm kind of just going to flip through them quickly. The first one is Vinyl Party, which is a like live album from the first album era. Then we have the old BBC Guard tapes, Volume 1. Again, just like BBC recording stuff. And then this last one is Kitchen Sink Dramas, which if I remember, this is like a bunch of radio broadcasts, live shows, and just like an amalgamation type. So yeah, again, Smith's one of my favorite bands, and I pretty much grab, again, anything I can get my hands on by them. So the last three are all Sex Pistols related. The first one is Live Worldwide. This is just like a random mishmash of live performances and stuff from their tours. And obviously the Sex Pistols don't have much material out there, so yeah, it's kind of interesting. I just love the Sex Pistols. I know it's like kind of cliche. I just feel like they changed my life so much, and I love their music still, even to this day. It has this raw viscera that's still kind of unmatched in a lot of regards. So yeah, this one's just on black vinyl, so I'm not going to show it, but really fantastic stuff. If you're into the Sex Pistols and you ever see any of the live boots, they're definitely worth checking out. This is a bootleg of the Submission and the Anarchy in the UK single. This one is on clear vinyl. Just something I had never seen. I had never seen like bootleg singles before, and I love this album art. There's so much going on in it, and there's just it doesn't match at all, but I absolutely love it. So yeah, just cool little curiosity piece. And last but certainly not least, this is Anarchy in the UK live by the Sex Pistols. I love the presentation of this. Black, pink, and white is like my favorite color combination. And this is like a very old like UK boot, if I remember correctly. Just on black vinyl again. But yeah, this is just really fun stuff. And again, I just absolutely love the cover art for this. The Sex Pistols just can't really do wrong with anything by them. So this is just an absolutely cool piece. I love hanging this one up on the wall. It's just such a fantastic image and presentation going on. So those are all the bootlegs I own, guys. Let me know down below what you think about bootleg records. Are you for them? Are you against them? If you own any, what are your favorites? And while you're in that comment section, hit that description, hit all those links, like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, guys, have a nice day.